The 2022 quarterback draft class is best represented by this army of Ryan Fitzpatricks that showed up to the NFL draft. Fitz has played for 9 different teams and has looked like 9 different quarterbacks. He's a bust, he's a hero, a journeyman, and a god all in one. You cannot define him, just like you cannot define or project the success of this QB draft class. This year, the first QBs taken were Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, and Malik Willis. The first quarterbacks selected back in 2013 were E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith, Mike Glennon, and Matt Barkley. It's considered one of the worst quarterback classes of the last 30 years. Many think the same about the most recent 2022 draft, but my question is, will more than one of the QBs drafted this year become long-term starters in the NFL? If the answer is yes, then this could actually be an all-time underrated quarterback draft class. Today, That's Good Sports goes balls deep into the QB draft. Now, quarterback success is one of the hardest things to predict on earth. For every Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, there's a Ryan Leaf and an RG3. For every Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott, there's a Garrett Grayson and Davis Webb. Or there's a Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold off the board before Josh Allen, and a Josh Rosen ahead of Lamar Jackson. To understand the 2022 quarterback draft class, we need a little context first. And I like 2014. Derek Carr is the best quarterback from the 2014 draft. He and Jimmy G were taken in the second round after Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel, and Teddy Bridgewater. Carr is the better QB, but Garoppolo has been to a Super Bowl and nearly got there again last season because he's played for better teams. This 2022 draft class could be very similar to 2014 without the top-heavy bust of Johnny Manziel and mixed results from the boat. If Kenny Pickett is Carr, Willis is, say, Garoppolo, and Howell is Teddy, we'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, the primary reason the 2022 draft class saw all of the quarterbacks fall drastically in terms of where they were being projected to get drafted is quarterback saturation. Simply, it's a strange time in the NFL where there isn't a massive need for solid quarterbacks. That's partially due to the fact that since 2016, a lot of good quarterbacks have entered the league. There hasn't been a drought of incoming QB talent like we saw from 2013 to 2015. Also factor in old-ass QBs like Tom Brady refusing to retire. We're seeing guys play longer than ever. And veterans like Garoppolo and Mayfield can be had for a price. Some price, we don't know what that price is, but there's good quarterbacks available. Teams that would have been primed to draft quarterbacks have done bizarre things like accidentally get success with Davis Mills, paid way too much money for Sam Darnold, and are completely fucking arrogant and believe they can win with Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Seahawks. But this draft all started with Kenny Pickett at 20 to the Steelers, the only quarterback to go in the first round. There was a lot of talk that Pickett would become the 6th pick of the draft by the Carolina Panthers, but instead he fell to 20th overall, where he went from Pittsburgh to Pittsburgh. Nice save on moving costs. Now, this is sadly ironic for Mitch Trubisky to enter a new phase of his career, because if you remember all the way back to 2017, Mike Glennon had just joined the Bears when Chicago traded up to 2nd overall to select Trubisky. The same thing just happened to Mitch exactly 5 years later. Mike Tomlin has said that Pickett has a chance to start day one, and I believe him. Pickett has been touted as a guy with a high floor and a low ceiling, meaning he can hit the ground running in the NFL, but maybe never hit that higher plane of QB existence that everyone wants in a post-Josh Allen world. Of course, that's only if you believe and trust in pre-draft evaluations, which you really shouldn't. We have no idea what these guys will turn into. Pickett could be awful right off the bat and stay awful forever, or he could end up being better than anyone predicted. Just a year ago, old Davis Mills and Mac Jones had the best rookie seasons of any of the 2021 quarterbacks, which included Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. Kenny was drafted by one of the best organizations in football, who have one of the best coaches in football. He has a tremendous chance to succeed based on just those two things alone, which means Mason Rudolph is really bad. April was Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, and the sponsor of today's show, Manscaped, partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to partake in saving your balls. That's right, shaving balls and saving balls, and come mid-July, we'll be craving ball. That sounded weird. Craving footballs because of, never mind. Saving balls is why I love working with Manscaped. Who are continuing to save balls in partnership with the Testicular Cancer Society with this limited edition purple accented lawnmower 4.0 and a donation of $50,000 to TCS with this launch. There are only 10,000 of these bad boys, and once they're gone, they're gone. Unlike your pubes that keep growing back after you use the lawnmower. So, check my link in the description, manscaped.com/goodsports, to save 20% off your order. Or if you want to donate and learn how to check your balls, all that info is at manscaped.com/TCS. Save some balls. Save them! The thing that did not occur, which we all thought would occur, was a run on quarterbacks in the second round. That's when shit got weird. Once that didn't happen, none of the top QB eligible teams felt pressed to overdraft the position. Instead, the run on quarterbacks came in the third round, with the first off the board being Desmond Ridder to the Atlanta Falcons, who were in dire need of a solution at QB. Now, Pickett has been touted as the most pro-ready of all the quarterbacks, but Ridder might be the smartest, most mature, and most experienced of the entire bunch. I think his maturity will help him ride the ups and downs, primarily the downs, as Atlanta has a lot of rebuilding to do after losing Matt Ryan and missing on Deshaun Watson and having an underwhelming free agency period due to cap restrictions that will be wide open, though, in 2023. One of the most overlooked indicators of success for quarterbacks is fit. And I really like the fit in Atlanta for Ridder. If you want to go back to my quarterbacks episode from the middle of 2021, I compared Ridder to Ryan Tannehill, who played his best football on Falcons head coach Arthur Smith. There was a lot of talk that Ridder could go at the back end of the first round to the Lions, and instead he's a Falcon on day 2. Ridder really has no pressure to succeed this season, if he even starts ahead of Marcus Mariota, other than the pressure he faces is Atlanta losing too many games and then the team being in a prime position to take an elite QB in 2023. Now, it turns out the evaluations in the media aren't even good at telling us where most of these quarterbacks are going to end up. Liberty QB Malik Willis is the best example of that. Malik Willis finally got fucking drafted by the Tennessee Titans all the way in the third round. Despite having to wait until day 2 to hear his name called, Malik Willis is a winner because he's heading into a perfect situation. I know the Tennessee Titans have a big question mark at the receiver position, something that's now headlined by Treylon Burks and Bobby Trees, but he's going from a very lackluster offensive line at Liberty to the Titans' offensive line, which is an above-average unit. Plus, he won't have to hit the field right away. Even though he had a shitty playoff performance against the Bengals, I don't think Ryan Tannehill's going to suddenly fall off a cliff after 3 straight seasons of getting the Titans to the playoffs. However, when they do make that move, because they get weirdly frugal at the wrong time, they will have hopefully taught Malik Willis how to break some of his bad habits, and he can become a safer, more accurate quarterback than he was in college. Because at the end of the day, even though he became a media darling, he was always a project pick at quarterback, and I understand why teams like the Lions didn't want to spend the second overall pick on him. I would have gladly pulled the trigger in the second round and bet on the combination of tools and high character, but the NFL has spoken, and he's a third rounder for the Titans for all eternity. The next QB off the board was Ole Miss RPO specialist Matt Corral. Whoosh! Hiya! Gillipati-doo, cowboy. Now Corral got hurt in the Sugar Bowl, which probably impacted his stock in the pre-draft process. There were also some questions floating around about some of Corral's off-the-field history, including his use of alcohol. Of course, that just makes him like 99% of all college students. On the field, you have to worry a little bit about Corral's lack of size, which is correlated with some of his injuries, in addition to jumping from a really simple offense at Ole Miss to an NFL offense run by mastermind Ben McAdoo. Now, don't look directly at his hair, Matt, and you'll be fine. Most of Corral's throws at Ole Miss were one-read plays. There's going to be a steep learning curve in the NFL, something that's not the case for Kenny Pickett, which is another reason he was the first quarterback off the board. Couple positives for the OK Corral are that he cut down on his turnovers last season, going from 14 picks in 2020 to just 5. He's also going to the Carolina Panthers, a team that was so desperate at the QB position. Last year, they rolled out the corpse of Cam Newton for multiple starts.
Knew what a woman was, not a bad bitch.
A healthy Christian McCaffrey and a solid receiving core will make his life easier, but you have to worry about the head coaching situation if and when Matt Rule gets fired. The New England Patriots surprised everyone multiple times, but I'm talking about when they snagged Western Kentucky's Bailey Zappe, who threw 62 touchdown passes last year. He went in the 4th round to the Pats. Obviously, this pick was intended to secure a long-term backup for Mac Jones. In a lot of ways, Zappe is Mac Jones light. He doesn't have a great arm, but he has just about everything else, including otherworldly production and a sick-ass name. Will he be able to unseat Brian Hoyer, who's been with the Patriots 37 different times? I think he will. It was a stretch to take him in the 4th, but he's basically the prototype NFL backup, and I think he'll have a long career in the league. The next, Chase Daniel. But here's where things can get crazy, okay? Because the potential to unseat Carson Wentz before the season over is high for Sam Howell, who was projected as a potential #1 overall pick before the 2021 season. Then he started his final season at UNC with 3 picks against Virginia Tech. But after that, he was honestly pretty good, throwing just 6 picks the rest of the season. You also have to put that offense into context. UNC lost Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, and Diami Brown in the 2021 draft, and Sam Howell had to shoulder the load for that team. He responded with fewer touchdowns, but his carries jumped from 92 in 2020 to 183 in 2021, and he scored 11 times with his legs. I am not a Carson Wentz believer, and I think he'll probably be threatened by this pick, even if Howell did fall all the way to the 5th round. And to be honest, Wentz should be threatened. Howell is coming for his job, and I think he gets it by week 10, providing fans in Washington with optimism for the first time since BS. Before Snyder. The last few QBs selected in the draft. 7th rounder went Chris Olajuwon to the Steelers, Kansas State, Skylar Thompson to the Dolphins, and Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy to the 49ers. I don't know anything about Olajuwon other than saying his name makes me really want to play Street Fighter. Skylar Thompson isn't a great passer, but I think head coach Mike McDaniel in Miami will use him in some goal line packages, and Brock Purdy has a chance to be good as a backup for Trey Lance in San Francisco. And finally, the undrafted QBs. There were 2 notables here. Western Michigan quarterback Caleb Ellaby went to the Seahawks. He joins a roster with Drew Lock and Geno Smith, and honestly has a great chance to surpass either of those guys. I will stop hating on Pete Carroll if they found the next Russ Wilson in an undrafted player. I will call Pete Granddaddy for the rest of my life if that's the case. But here's where the draft was the most insane, okay? Nevada's Carson Strong went from being mocked 1st overall before the season to not hearing his name called at all during the draft. His 63 touchdown passes were the most of any QB in this class since the 2020 season. It's not because of his performance, okay? Strong won his second straight Mountain West Player of the Year award in 2021, and he did that on a knee that needed more time to fully heal from off-season surgery, which is now being used against him. He fell out of the draft because of that supposedly degenerative knee issue. There's a chance that his knee might totally derail his career, which sucks. But if it doesn't, and he's fine or can manage that, then the Eagles just got the steal of the entire 2022 class. Based on production and talent, he should have been the third quarterback taken ahead of both Howell and Corral. So credit the Eagles for being smart enough to give him the highest guaranteed contract for any undrafted player ever at $300,000+. Strong has a rocket arm, great accuracy, is ultra competitive and incredibly tough. He only received one scholarship offer coming out of high school, also because of his knee, so I get the concern. But I think he'll thrive with another chip on his shoulder. I don't think he'll be coming for Jalen Hurts' job this season, even though I said that would happen in the last video, but I really believe he'll factor into Philly's long-term plans at QB, as some rest for his knee may do him wonders. Something he didn't have the luxury of doing as a man, trying to get drafted. He played through the injury to get drafted, and he played well. He's really good at manipulating the pocket. Think Tom Brady, but better. A guy who's had to get better at the game due to a physical limitation, and it will pay dividends later. Overall, this draft class could end up being one of the best in years if you look at it in terms of value. No one was overdrafted. In fact, just about everyone went later than they were projected, except of course for Bailey Zappe. There were no reaches, so it'll be hard to look back at this draft class and compare it to 07, 2011, or 2013 simply because there were no Jake Lockers, Christian Ponders, or EJ Manuels who were way overdrafted. NFL teams exhibited a lot of patience, and if two of these guys turn into starters, and I think Pickett, Willis, Ritter, Howell, and Strong do, then this class will have been a success, regardless of the shit these kids have gotten all year long. Boom! Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Check out one of my draft recap episodes or whatever YouTube's telling you to watch on the screen right now. I'm on Twitter at Brandon Perna, and yeah, subscribe here on YouTube. Football.